Hi folks, James here from Sweet Pea Machine Embroidery. I'm back with a brand new sew-along design for May. The project we are embarking on is this eye-catching illusion quilt. We are so excited for this sew-along because we can't wait to see the creative layouts and illusions people come up with. My advice, try and be adventurous with your quilt pattern. The design includes the illusion block, which can be made in the 4x4, 5x5, 6x6, 7x7, and the 8x8 size hoop. In this video, I will show you the stitch out of the illusion block and the construction of the illusion quilt. We recommend you follow the photograph written instructions provided in conjunction with this video. If you haven't already, go join the May Sew-along group on Facebook to receive a 30% discount on this design. The link will be in the description below. If you enjoy Sweet Pea's tutorial on the illusion quilt sew-along, please like and subscribe. Begin by hooping up cutaway stabilizer in the hoop and load the design onto your machine. Then place batting 1 on top of the hoop and stitch the batting down. Remove the hoop from your machine and trim the batting about 1 to 2 millimeters from the stitching. Refer to the diagram for each piece of applique. Stitch the placement line for piece 1. Place fabric A right side up on top of the hoop, covering the placement line. Stitch down. Remove the hoop from your machine and trim the fabric about 1 to 2 millimeters from the stitching. Leave the excess fabric in the seams. Embroider the quilting on piece 1. Repeat the applique process with piece 2 using fabric B. Trim, leaving the excess fabric in the seams. Embroider the quilting and then the satin stitch along the piece. Repeat the applique and embroidery process with piece 3 using fabric C. Repeat the applique process with piece 4 using fabric D. Trim, leaving the excess fabric in the seams. Embroider the quilting on the piece. Repeat the applique process with piece 5 using fabric E. Trim, leaving the excess fabric in the seam. Embroider the quilting, then the satin stitch along the piece. Repeat the applique and embroidery process with piece 6 using fabric F. Repeat the applique and embroidery process with piece 7 using fabric G. Embroider the satin stitch along the top of pieces 4 to 6. Repeat the applique process with piece 8 using fabric H. Trim, leaving the excess fabric in the seams. Embroider the quilting on the piece. Repeat the applique process with piece 9 using fabric I. Trim, leaving the excess fabric in the seam. Embroider the quilting and then the satin stitch along the piece. Repeat the applique and embroidery process with piece 10 using fabric J. Repeat the applique process with piece 11 using fabric K. Trim, leaving the excess fabric in the seams. Embroider the quilting on the piece. Repeat the applique process with piece 12 using fabric L. Trim, leaving the excess fabric in the seam. Embroider the quilting and then the satin stitch along the piece. Repeat the applique and embroidery process with piece 13 using fabric M. Repeat the applique process with piece 14 using fabric N. Trim, leaving the excess fabric in the seams. Embroider the quilting and then the satin stitch along the piece. Embroider the satin stitch along the top of pieces 11 to 13. Embroider the satin stitch along the center of the block. The stitch out of the illusion block is now complete. Remove from the hoop and trim the seams to about 1/2 inch. Hold aside until all your blocks/panels are made. Awesome work! Now lay out your blocks on a flat surface and decide on your layout. We decided to make a runner with our quilt blocks. Here are a few other layout options using the block. Start off by joining the blocks in rows. Place the first 2 blocks right sides together and pin along one edge, lining up the border stitching the best you can. Take your time with this process. Stitch the side seam on your sewing machine. Stitch just inside the border already stitched on the blocks, so the stitching will not be seen on the right sides later. Open out the stitch seams and iron flat. Continue this until you have each row of blocks joined. Next, join the rows to each other by placing the first 2 rows right sides together. Pin and stitch the seams on your sewing machine. Stitch just inside the border already stitched on the blocks, so the stitching will not be seen on the right side later. Open out the stitch seams and iron flat. Continue this until you have joined all the horizontal rows together. Place the backing fabric on your table, wrong sides facing up. Place your sewn runner on top of the backing fabric, wrong sides together. Lightly spray your backing down to your runner to stay in place while attaching the binding. This will keep all layers together while you stitch in the ditch. To join the backing, stitch in the ditch along the border seams and down the middle. All internal seams can be done if desired. Now trim the excess backing so it is exactly 1 1/4 inches bigger around the runner. We use a cutting ruler and pencil to mark out exactly 1 1/4 inches. Starting on any side, fold the backing fabric in half and then fold in half again, making sure you fold it just over your seam stitching and pin. Continue pinning your binding until you reach your first corner. When you get to the corner, try and make a nice mitered corner. Turn your binding in at the corner and continue folding the same way as we did for the first side of the binding. You can iron your folds as you go if this helps with your mitered corners. Fold a final time and pin the corner in place. Continue pinning right around the runner. Starting anywhere, sew the binding to the runner just inside the folded edge of the binding. If you want, change your bobbin thread to match your backing. When you get to the corner, simply leave your needle down and lift the foot and rotate the runner. Put your foot down and continue stitching in this fashion until you're right around the runner. Give the runner a press. Your runner is finished. Enjoy. Thanks for watching Sweet Pea's tutorial on the Illusion quilt. Remember to post photos of your finished project on the May Sew Along group. If you enjoyed making this design, go check out our website for more beautiful machine embroidery designs at sweetpea.com. I'll see you next month. Please like and subscribe.